All right, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating and honestly kind of mind-bending idea that the fastest way to get what you want isn't to hustle harder, but to just let go completely. It's this weird paradox that you see everywhere, from ancient wisdom all the way to modern science labs. So how on earth does that actually work? Let's get into it.
I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. That amazing relationship, that dream job offer, that creative idea you were stuck on. How often does it show up the second you've finally given up? Right when you stop desperately chasing it. You know, that's not just a coincidence. There's a really fundamental principle at play here about how our intentions actually create our reality. Let's unpack it.
So where do we even begin with this? Well, let's start with the work of a 20th century mystic named Neville Goddard. His entire philosophy, and it's a game changer, really hangs on this one single powerful idea. You have to assume your wish is already a done deal. Just look at the energetic difference here. It's night and day. On one side, you've got striving. This is all about force, pushing, which, let's be honest, is always fueled by doubt and a feeling of lack. It's basically sending a signal out to the universe that says, I don't have this thing. But on the other side, you have assuming. Now, this is a state of being. It's a quiet certainty, a deep knowing, but just radiates completion. You're not chasing anything because on some level, you feel like you already are that person who has it. And this quote, this just nails the mental shift you have to make. Goddard taught that you must live from the end result. You're not hoping for it, you're not even really looking forward to it. You feel it as a reality right now, so deeply that it almost feels like a memory of something that's already happened. This is what stops you from broadcasting that frequency of lack, and instead aligns you with the reality where your desire already exists. Okay, I know what you're thinking. That sounds great in theory, but how do you actually feel like something is done when your bank account or your dating life is screaming that it isn't, right? This brings us to the incredible work of psychologist and meditation teacher Tara Brach. She gives us a practical path to actually get to that state of surrender. And her practice is so simple, you can do it anytime, anywhere. First, there's this sacred pause. Literally, just stop. Stop the frantic energy for a second. Then, you name what's true. You just acknowledge the feeling without judging it. Ah, there's that longing. Or, okay, there's fear. And finally, you say yes. Now, this doesn't mean you agree with the feeling or that you like it. It's more of a compassionate yes to the fact that you're experiencing it. You stop fighting it. And that's what breaks the cycle of struggle and creates the inner space for a new reality to emerge. But here's the really cool part. This isn't just philosophy or wishful thinking. You might be surprised to hear there's some seriously compelling scientific data that actually backs up this whole paradox. Let's take a look at the research into consciousness and how our minds can literally interact with the physical world. So, researcher Dean Radin studies what science calls psi phenomena, which is basically a fancy term for mind over matter. And his work has found something incredible. The less you try to force an outcome, the stronger the effect. He actually calls it the paradox of effortless striving. The moment you let go, your intention seems to get stronger. It's wild. So what does this ideal state actually feel like? Well, Radin's research points to 3 key things. First, you have a clear, directed focus. You know exactly what you want. Second, there's this feeling of expectant stillness. You know, like the quiet confidence you have when you're waiting for a seed you've planted to sprout. And finally, and this is the big one, there's zero anxiety. You aren't worried about if it will happen or when it will happen. You just trust that it will. And I mean, the results are crystal clear. You can see it right here. The energy of anxious striving, that desperate, needy feeling for a result, consistently performs poorly in these experiments. But the calm, focused, and ultimately detached state of intention, it has a significantly higher effect. The data literally shows us that letting go isn't being passive. It's incredibly potent. Okay, so we've got the mystical angle from Goddard and the mind matter research from Radin, but what's actually happening inside our own brains and bodies when we do this? How does surrender literally rewire our biology? Well, according to cellular biologist Bruce Lipton, we can literally become addicted to our own stress hormones. Think about it. When we're constantly striving, worrying, and struggling, our body gets used to that chemical cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline. It becomes our normal. And then our body will unconsciously look for situations to get its next fix of those chemicals, keeping us trapped in a loop that constantly reinforces the feeling of, I don't have what I want. So, how do you break that chemical addiction? You have to create what neuropsychiatrist Daniel Siegel calls a neuroception of safety. It's a feeling of calm that you generate from the inside out. By practicing things like mindfulness or that radical acceptance we talked about,
We can soothe our own nervous system, turn off that fight or flight response, and create a biological state where trust can finally replace fear. This is the physiological foundation of surrender. So when we pull all of this together, the mystical, the psychological, the scientific, and the biological, what's the big takeaway? It boils down to a really simple but profound conclusion. Letting go isn't giving up. It is the ultimate act of alignment. Here's the most crucial point to really get. All that time you spent striving, that desperate white-knuckled need for the thing you want, that was the very energy blocking it from coming to you. The universe, the quantum field, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't respond to neediness. And it doesn't require your sweat, your worry, or your desperate struggle either. All of that frantic effort, it's really just a signal of disbelief. It's like you're shouting to the universe that you don't really trust that your desire is on its way. Instead, the field responds to your identity, to who you are being. When you stop acting like someone who is waiting for something to happen and you start embodying the calm, certain energy of the person who already has it, you change the fundamental signal you are sending out. You change your identity. And that really just leaves us with one final powerful question to sit with. How would you think, feel, and act today if you knew with absolute, unshakable certainty that what you want is already a done deal? That state of being, right there, that is the magic key. That's what collapses time and turns this paradox into your reality.
Thank you for watching. If something in this resonated with you, then you're already closer than you think. If you're ready to go deeper, there's a link below to my book, Quantum Manifestation: How to Collapse Time and Shift Timelines. This isn't theory. It's a framework you can actually use. Tap the link below and step into it.